The village fair had not arrived yet, but it was already happening. That was the curious thing Rosco noticed as he sat at the kitchen table, pencil paused above his notebook, listening to the morning around him. The kettle had just boiled and tinked and clicked as it cooled. The clock on the mantel ticked methodically and set the leisurely pace of the day as it unfolded. Outside, the willow tree swished and swayed a greeting to the windfall apples on the lawn. A distant cluck of hens from Mr. Bramblewick's garden drifted in through the window, followed by the shrill call of a tiny wren hiding in the hedge. And yet, Rosco looked down at his list. It had started short. Cake, he'd written first. Then, beneath it, pumpkin. Then, drawing. And then, books. And sometime during the night, or perhaps between one cup of chamomile tea and the next, the fair had begun adding things of its own. Rosco said softly. Berry looked up from the window seat, where he was carefully arranging some medieval knights in armour along the windowsill, ready for a joust. Rosco, is that a thinking, or a fixing, A noticing one, said Rosco. Those are usually the longest. The bunnies gathered closer. Millie Moonbeam hopped onto a chair, her sketchbook tucked under her arm. Floyd leaned against the dresser. Caratina appeared with a ball of wool in one paw and knitting needles in the other. The village fair's tomorrow, Rosco said, and I was making a list of the things we wanted to get ready. Outside, a cart rattled faintly down the lane, groaning a little with the weight of the flour it was bringing to Nash's bakery. Nash would be baking pies and pasties and loaves and rolls for the fair. Somewhere further off, a hammer tapped once, then stopped, as if listening for what was coming next. They sat around the table and talked the way the bunnies do best, slowly, with pauses that let ideas sprout and thoughts stretch out and noses twitch in agreement. Now, bunnies, first things are first, said Rosco. As you know, Hazel Patterpaw is organising things for the cafe tent. That's one of our favourites. The cakes and buns and Victoria sponge all do tremendously well. They sell out in less than half of a thrice. She asked me if we might bake something for the cafe tent, so she has enough of what the visitors like. It doesn't need to be fancy, just something simple and nice. Hazel Patterpaw is very organised, Rosco added. She labels things clearly and makes her cake displays cheery, and she's as sweet as a ripe purple fig. But Bunny's mind, she likes to know what she's going to find before it arrives in her tent. Berry thought about this. I like Battenberg. The marzipan is such a treat. How about, said Floyd, a delumptious and plumptious fruit cake? Rosco said, they're both fine choices, but in the time that we have, they might take too long to bake. How about fairy cakes, topped with cream and dotted with berries from the garden? Hazel Patterpaw, they knew, would line them up neatly, label them clearly, and thank everyone twice. So that was settled. Then there was the pumpkin. The vegetable exhibition, Farmer Thistledown had said, was for showing, not judging. Vegetables with interesting shapes were especially welcome. Ray de Biscuits was entering the exhibition this year, and Ray de Biscuits took vegetables very seriously. They went out to the vegetable patch together. The pumpkins lay half hidden under broad leaves, their skins smooth with a faint creamy orange glow. Berry crouched low, peering at them from different angles. "This one is as round as a wheel of cheese," he said. "That one has a neck that curves like a swan's," said Floyd. Caratina tapped one gently. "This one sounds like a drum." In the end, they chose a pumpkin that wasn't the biggest, but had grown with a slight curve, as though it had leaned its way into the light, and decided that that was quite enough. Back inside, Millie Moonbeam opened her sketchbook. The village fair picture exhibition was being organised by Hilary Pickle, who always wore a paint-splashed apron that looked as cheerful as her warm open smile. Millie Moonbeam had been thinking about what to submit for the exhibition for days, without quite realising she was thinking about it. "I don't want it to be about the fair," she said. "I want it to be something the fair would like." She flipped through pages, pillowy, billowy clouds, hedges and thickets and fields, the wide, calm sea she remembered from afar. Then she paused. The picture she chose was of an old wooden gate, just slightly open, the light casting a friendly shadow on the gravel path. It was an inviting image, and one they knew well. It was the way into Mr. Bramblewick's garden. Rosco nodded. "That feels right." The books came last. Tracy Windleshank's library tent would be a place of quiet corners, story nooks and picture books. A book swap, she'd said. Stories passing from paw to paw. The bunnies laid their small stack on the table. Berry ran his fingers along the spines. Which books feel like they're ready to move on? That took a little time. Some stayed for cakes yet unbaked in recipe books, or castle adventures waiting, nights still at the ready. Some books were thanked and placed gently on the pile. In the end, they tied them together with string, not too tight, but a bundle just right. Outside, the village sounds were busier, but not louder. There were tents going up, canvas flapping in the breeze, and pegs and rope holding them down. In the fields nearby, fences were placed and gates set just so, ready for the events and shows. There was everything from sheep shearing and milking cows in their stalls, and how to keep bees in their hives. Oh, then honey to taste if you'd like. In the distance, someone laughed. Someone else practiced a tune on a fiddle and stopped halfway through. Bunting appeared as if by accident, rainbows between lampposts and poles, as though they had been waiting all year to put on their show. Rosco closed his notebook. The list hadn't grown smaller, but it felt complete. "Well," he said, "I think the fare's ready enough." Berry looked around the kitchen, at the fairy cakes cooling, the pumpkin by the door, the drawings stacked neatly, the books tied and waiting. "It feels like we're bringing pieces of home along with us," he said. Rosco smiled. "That's usually how the best village fairs start." The bunnies tidied up, dried paws, and set everything by the door. Outside, the village went on preparing itself. Not in a rush, not all at once, but steady and content. The fair was still a day away, but already it had begun. Quietly, kindly, and just as it should. All was snug. All was well. Night, night.